There in my mind, Goldie would be doing exactly what she always said she'd do if any of us ever did something to disappoint her. Spinning in her grave and cussing like a sailor under her dissipated breath, despite the good church lady she'd always been. Being my father, a man known far and wide for such bumper sticker faith as "I'm tough, I can take it," and "oh, it'll be all right," it had taken him far too long to go to the doctor. Now his insides were eaten up with the cancer. 3 tumors that had grown into one. He had lost 60 pounds through the ordeal, and it had mined and hollowed out his face in such a way, aged him 20 years seemingly overnight, that I could hardly recognize him now. My breath caught in my throat when I walked into the dim light of that hospital room and saw him, a man much older than I had left him. I had to look away so he wouldn't see the horror in my eyes, and I was left staring at his dirty hands leaving marks on the crisp white sheets. They were the only thing left about him that I recognized. From the hallway I could hear the nurses at their station. Their accents sounded both foreign and familiar at the same time. Like the 2 different versions of myself that I now held inside me couldn't agree on which one it was. There was the me who was the girl in the trailer, and then there was the me who came after, and they had both come to stand by my father's bedside, knowing full well they should have come much sooner. It had been 5 years since I had been home to Nicholas County, West Virginia, but I hadn't lived there in 18, and at that moment I was, in every way, both a girl and a woman divided. 18 years at home and 18 years since I'd left, I had just crossed some unspoken threshold of a finish line where I'd now spent as much of my life outside of that trailer as I had in it. And thinking back on it right then, it felt much less like a memory and more like another lifetime. In the flickering green, beeping darkness, Dad's eyes rolled forward, slow, wincing, as if that effort alone might finish him, blinked and then opened. "Hey, kid, how we doin'?" It had been years since he called me kid, not since I left for law school at Yale, and he finally, for the first time in my life, started calling me Mary. He'd visited me exactly twice in New Haven in the 3 years I was in school there. Once to help me find an apartment, and once to move me in. Neither visit was to come back and watch me walk across that stage when I graduated. A lifetime of work to help get me to that place, and he wasn't even there to witness it. But I had at least graduated to my given name, and that felt like something. So to hear him call me kid now, in the small, still darkness of this unfamiliar room, it felt like he wasn't so much in another place as another time. My first thought was that they must have him on some powerful pain medicine, and that through an ivy-induced fog he was just pretty out of it. I traced the tube coming out of his arm to a clear bag of liquid hanging from a metal stand and churning out its drip, drip, drip rhythm, till all the drips and blips in the room seemed to be keeping time with one another, and I felt like I might lose my mind at the repetition and replaying of it all. It was like scenes from a projector reel were casting mere shadows of our life, both he and I together and he and I apart, on the sanitized, whitewashed walls all around us. They blurred and bled into one another in a way that began to rewind time, my past, present, and future all melting into one, and I couldn't bring myself to look at anything but the hands that helped build me. Kid, kidster, I was praying that you'd come. Now I was certain. The time to be worried was here. The only church on Sunday where J.R. Bess had ever worshipped was at the altar of the woods. His congregation was a canopy of trees ripe for the cutting. His preacher was a busted-up, run-down John Deere 550 dozer, always pushing him, driving him on toward his higher power. To me, he was not a man who ever seemed to be on real good terms with God. And to take one look at the struggle that was his life, it would be easy to assume that God had been more than fine with that arrangement. As far as I knew, Dad hadn't prayed for anything or anyone a day in his life, and I had no idea why he'd be starting now. Part 1. The Girl in the Trailer. Chapter 1. It always started with dirt. From the edge of a dirt path off of Airport Road, where the road forks and snakes just a little taller to form the highest point on Fenwick Mountain, you can stand and watch a storm roll in from any and all directions. We would do that often when I was little. We'd stand out under the wooden overhang of a hand-built lean-to turn front porch, where the boards were all mismatched scraps of whatever you could find, and the nails half-hammered and crooked sat rusted from the punishment of a blistering summer sun, and watch as streaks of lightning lit up the heat of a July night sky, while thunder rumbled hard and shook the mountains. Dad stood next to me in his muddy jeans and a long-since-yellowed white undershirt, his bare, battered feet on the dirt floor of the porch, his dark hair wild as if standing on